One of the most discussed titles releasing this year is the recently announced Fallout 76. Soon after the game's announcement, word began to spread that the game would be an online survival RPG game inspired by titles like Rust, and that it would be a multiplayer-centric game, courtesy of leaks from Kotaku editor Jason Schreier, leaks that proved to be true when Bethesda showcased the game during their E3 2018 press conference. The news proved to be divisive, to say the least, among fans of the series, with some welcoming the fact that Bethesda's trying something new, while others seeing it as a betrayal of their Save Player One initiative. I, for one, think that as long as Bethesda's mainline single-player projects like Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, and Fallout 5 remain a focus, which they still seem to be, I'm open to Bethesda dipping their toes on new ventures here and there. It's not as if Fallout 76's development and release will mark the end of traditional Bethesda games as we know it. That stuff isn't going anywhere. But I also totally get that some people would have preferred if Fallout 76 were a single-player spin-off a la New Vegas rather than an online game, and I do understand concerns that some of the elements that make the Fallout series special might get lost in transition to a multiplayer-centric format. Only time will tell if Fallout 76's final release will prove to be a worthy entry in the Fallout series despite its radical departure, but until then, we'll have to accept that it is an online game and that the inhabitants of this world will be other players, for better or for worse. Now, one question that some of you may have is if you'll be able to play with players outside the confines of your preferred platform. People have wondered if Fallout 76 will feature some form of crossplay functionality, something that more and more high-profile games seem to be pushing towards in this day and age, from Rocket League, Minecraft to Fortnite. Well, this was a question that German news outlet GameStar directly asked Bethesda Game Studios director and producer Todd Howard himself, and the response Todd provided was quite simple. He said, quote, "We would love to do that, but right now, that's not possible. Sony isn't being as helpful as we want them to be." Yikes, that's a pretty blunt call out against Sony, which has faced an unprecedented amount of backlash lately for their stubbornness to yield on crossplay. While Sony has made headlines before for blocking crossplay for popular titles like Minecraft and Rocket League, the issue became particularly heated when Sony decided to not just deny crossplay for Fortnite, but also lock down Epic Games accounts that have logged into PS4 and make them unusable on competing consoles. And with Fortnite progression being entirely tied to Epic Games accounts, you can imagine people's frustrations when they discover that they would have to make new accounts and start over again to play on other consoles like Switch. Now, Sony has released a few statements to address feedback against crossplay, but none of them have really inspired confidence or sympathy from gamers. When Rocket League crossplay was the topic of contention back in June 2017, Sony's justification was that they wanted to keep children safe from external influences within the PlayStation curated universe. A pretty lame excuse that not many people bought. Then, with the Fortnite account lockdowns, when asked for comment by news outlet BBC, Sony responded with a whole lot of nothing, just a canned PR statement that didn't in any way address the matter at hand. Most recently, just a few days ago on June 27th, 2018, during the GameLab conference in Spain, CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Shawn and PS4 system architect Mark Cerny were asked to provide a statement on the recent crossplay controversy, after which Shawn stepped in with the following response. "We are hearing it. We're looking at a lot of the possibilities. You can imagine that the circumstances around that affect a lot more than just one game. I'm confident we'll get to a solution which will be understood and accepted by our gaming community, while at the same time supporting our business." I don't know, sounds to me as though Sony is issuing your typical "we're listening to feedback" response that might signal the company isn't ready to pursue any drastic actions. It sounds like they're trying to skirt around the issue rather than give us a straight answer on whether crossplay will or will not be enabled on PlayStation platforms in the foreseeable future. The important bit of Shawn's statement is, while at the same time supporting our business, which goes in line with what ex-president of Sony Online Entertainment had to say about this issue, tweeting that people should not only keep applying pressure if they want to change Sony's crossplay policy, but also flat out reveal that it's a purely monetary-driven decision. Not a big surprise, I suppose. Business is business, and I'm well aware that the flow of money is pivotal to any company's survival, but Sony should begin wondering whether they aren't doing themselves more harm than good at this point. The negative PR and backlash is getting worse and worse with each instance of crossplay shenanigans, and it's not just the gaming community speaking out about this. A freaking ex-president of Sony called the company out, and prolific game developers like Todd Howard are becoming more vocal about the issue as well. It's also worth noting that Bethesda has previously faced similar frustrations with Sony when the company limited mod support on PS4 versions of titles like Skyrim and Fallout 4, despite Bethesda's best attempts. And now it would seem as though Bethesda is once again feeling hindered by Sony's inflexibility on certain aspects of their platform. It's hard to not pick up on the palpable and growing frustration against Sony on consumers' and developers' part, both of who would greatly benefit from crossplay. In an era of digital interconnectedness, crossplay is the inevitable future of gaming, and the only major company resisting what's overall a positive force for change is Sony. Not trying to say that there's anything wrong with Sony being business conscious, but when that gets in the way of progress for the medium they represent, there is cause for pushback. I mean, loot boxes are a financially lucrative feature for game companies to pursue, but they have done nothing but impede if not regress gaming as a whole, so backlash against such practices were warranted. Not saying Sony denying crossplay is anywhere near as bad as loot boxes, I'm just saying that spouting "we are a business" doesn't always excuse a company's actions or policies. Now, whenever I discuss Sony blocking crossplay, some people love to bring up how Xbox did the same thing during last generation when they were leading in sales. I'm not denying that, but if we intend to make progress, someone has to break the mold, and right now the ball is on Sony's court. It's also worth noting that Xbox One conceded on crossplay after Phil Spencer took over the notorious Don Matrick as head of Xbox, with Phil having been nothing but forward-thinking about consumers since, and Nintendo has been very open-minded about crossplay as well. I also highly doubt either company can regress or go back on crossplay for future generations, as there would be PR hell to pay. They are in it for the long haul now. Which means that in the present moment, the only one left to join the party is Sony, and everyone from gamers to developers are hoping that the company will see reason and yield on this matter so the gaming industry can move forward together. If you ask me, it is inevitable that Sony will eventually buckle as pressure keeps mounting, as developers like Todd Howard speak out and sort of keep conversations surrounding this issue alive. It is a change that pretty much everyone wants, a tide that most people are happy to ride, and sooner or later, Sony is bound to get pulled in as well. There's only so long you can swim against the tide. These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on Todd Howard calling out Sony about crossplay in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to help support this channel, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.